Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bread and Butter. We're serving up the basics the average Hearthstone player needs for improvement. I'm Tito Santana, most call me Tito, and over here is my good friend Doc McButt.
Hey,
How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
So we are here with our very first podcast that we're doing. Doc approached me a little while ago and asked me to do a podcast, and we've been playing around with the ideas. And I know it's kind of novel. I thought about it. I was like, two white guys recording a podcast about a video game. Has it been done before? I'm not sure it has, so I'm very glad we're doing this. But Doc's, what made you decide you wanted to do a podcast?
I've actually been wanting to break into the space for quite a while. I have 1 to 3 episodes out of a podcast I did solo like 4 years ago. It still exists out on Spotify. It's not great because I didn't really know what I was doing. It's called The Weekly Wipe, and it is essentially defunct. But if you look my first and last name up on Google, it is the first thing that pops up now.
Fantastic. The Weekly Wipe sounds perfect for someone named Doc McButt. Why don't we tell the listeners, where did that name come from?
Actually, like, not as fun as some people might think. So back in 2014 or 2013, I graduated high school. 2014, I started college. So my dad told me I would pick the laptop. He'd buy it for me. So I had friends that were much more computer savvy than I was, because I was a console gamer growing up. And they found this Lenovo gaming laptop that had like a 1050 Ti in it, and like, I don't know, I can't remember the hard drive space or whatever, but it was good enough to play games. And so the first game I played on my new laptop that required like a brand new username was Smite. But this was back when they had their own launcher and it wasn't through Steam. And I like Doc McStuffins was on the brain just because I worked in retail and there was a lot of Doc McStuffins merchandise around, because this is when that show was blowing up. And being the mature 18, 19-year-old I wanted it to, I don't know, I was like playing around with ideas that like had like references to like poop or something in the name, but like none of them stuck. And so I was just good, Doc McButt, like whatever. And it was spelt differently. It was a capital M and C instead of capital D, capital M, capital B. But yeah, mostly Doc McStuffins inspired, and then butt stuff inspired.
Fair enough. I can see why you and Storm Rage are friends.
Yeah.
So my name. So some might be thinking, is that the famous wrestler from the 80s? That is not who I am. When I picked back when I started playing video games before the internet, games like Baldur's Gate and the like, I always used to pick Tito Santana as my username for whatever those games are. And it's just when I started playing World of Warcraft, it was the first character. I had all my characters were named after wrestlers, or most of them. I had Tito Santana, Coco Beware, Earthquake, Ric Flair. So it just stuck, and everyone in the Twitter world, in the communities that I am involved in, have always known me as Tito, which is kind of weird, given that I am not the wrestler, nor am I anything close to Tito. My real name's Jason, so it's kind of strange, but you know, I like it. I go with it. It is nice to have an identity that's easy. So this is the first podcast that we are doing, Bread and Butter. The reason why we kind of call the podcast Bread and Butter is that we really want to get into kind of the basics of Hearthstone, the fundamentals, the things you start with. We are both average players. There is no, we're not high legend. We're not gold 10 players. We are average players that want to get better at the game. And there are lots of tools out there that can help you get better, and lots of things you can think about. So bread and butter really kind of is like bread and butter always kind of makes you feel like the real basics of something, and that's kind of what we're going for here. We're going to have some bumpers and music as it comes. We're planning on having more than Doc's 3 podcasts on his last show. We're hoping to kind of keep this going. But why don't we start off? We have different sections that we're going to be going with, to like most shows. Our first one will be setting the table. So Doc, why don't you tell us what you've been doing in Hearthstone lately, or anything personal you want to share about yourself?
So, as hopefully everyone knows that's listening to this, Battlegrounds got a big update last week, or 2 weeks ago now, and that I've been playing a lot of BGs. I work a lot, so my gaming time is very minimal, but I am almost 3,500 MMR in BGs. I've played some standard. Today I tried out Edelweiss's Quest Mage that focuses Frozen Touch. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It took me to my second game to actually like figure it out, because like I don't play a lot of like spell based decks. Usually I play like aggro and mid range. But second game I figured it out and took some kind of other mage from 30 to dead in 2 turns when I was sitting at 8 health. So it was pretty nice.
I've also been playing that deck, and I had a game where I burned my quest reward against a curse lock.
Oh,
no! And I still won that game.
Okay.
It is a lot of fun. In fact, but I think that she calls it Spooky Mage. I think that's inappropriate. That the real name of this is Quest to the Bone Zone.
Quest to the Bone Zone. I like it.
There you go. What else? How about any other decks you've been playing, or anything else going on in your life?
So other decks that I've been playing, I actually picked up. I'm forgetting their name now, but the Enrage Warrior that Stormridge shared the other day.
Enzo's list.
Yeah, I've been playing Enzo Warrior, and that deck is really fun. I thought Warrior was hot garbage, and then I tried this list and I was like, okay, there's definitely something here. But so mainly that and Edelweiss's deck. I was playing Aggro Druid, which the last 3 expansions, that's been like the main deck I've played is Aggro Druid. So I'm kind of tired of it. But personal life wise, I am a brand new uncle. My niece is, thank you. My niece is, I think, a week old today. And she's the most beautiful looking baby. I can't wait to meet her in October. But besides that, I just have been making bread, a lot of bread.
Now, as far as your niece, it was really challenging for them to even just get into the hospital, wasn't it?
Yeah. So my family, so I come from Washington State. I currently live in Utah, and Utah is very lax on like COVID restrictions and stuff, and Washington State is definitely not. But my sister was scheduled to be induced on the 1st, which was already like measurement wise, not gestation wise, measurement wise, it was already a week overdue. And then when they went to the hospital to get to their appointment, they were told that they were still trying to induce people from the day before, and that they would have to go home and they would get a phone call. And so then my sister was home for a day and a half before she started having contractions and going into labor. But niece is beautiful, nice, healthy baby. Which is great, because my sister was like way overdue, and my brother and I were really early, and so we were just kind of worried that something would happen, and luckily nothing did.
Well, if that happens to her next time, tell her that I heard that if she eats spicy food, it's supposed to help.
Okay.
I am not a doctor. Do not take my actual advice.
What about you, Tito? What have you been playing, and what have you been up to?
Oh, I've also been playing the Quest to the Bone Zone. That's been a lot of fun. I've been really trying to mix it up. I'm trying to not. We just had the patch drop a couple days ago, or yesterday, in fact, on Friday, which has a lot of changes. And I'm trying to find the deck that I'm going to get from D5 to Legend with. I haven't found anything that clicks yet, but this deck feels really good, and I also have a Evolve Shaman. That has been a lot of fun. I just took a new job, which is really strange for me. It's kind of weird because I'm still doing the same exact job. It's just the company I work for is different. But I had been at my company for 14 and a half years. And it's a strange thing. But it's been a lot of fun. It's weird to move away from something you've been with so long. But I'm also, I have a lot on my plate. So I said, hey, besides doing a new podcast with my friend, why don't I start streaming? And I've been doing that for roughly 2 weeks now or so. I think tomorrow is 2 weeks officially, or maybe it's 3, but I think it's 2. And it's going really well. It's been a lot of fun. I'm starting to have some people showing up. Not regulars, but you can't hard to have regulars in 2 weeks. But people are showing up, and I'm trying to find. I don't want to play the same old meta decks that everyone else is playing. So I'm trying to find the way to find my voice in streaming, but also find something that's going to be entertaining that people are going to want to come watch. And actually, talking about my name before, I was actually thinking about maybe I should try to find something along the lines of a new name, because I'm not that professional wrestler and I wouldn't want him to get upset that I'm using his name. So I was looking into like these names like Gamer Dad or Gamer Granddad and something like that, and they're all taken. And they're all taken by people that said, "Oh yeah, I'm a dad. I'm going to game," and they all have like one follower, following one. So it's all these people that put their foot in the place and said, "This is what I'm going to do," but never actually did it. So it was kind of frustrating. No, I think I'm happy enough with Tito Santana. Yeah, it was a thought. I'm like, well, should I not? But I've been doing this long enough where it hasn't actually been a problem, so I think we're gonna go with it. Um, anyway, that's little small talk, but let's move on to the appetizers. This is where another sound bumper will be eventually. So Doc, how long have you been playing Hearthstone? How'd you get into it? What's your gaming history here? Let's give people a
So
baseline.
like gaming history or Hearthstone history?
How about both? Whatever you want to tell the users, the listeners.
So gaming history, I've been playing video games my whole life, mostly first person or third person shooters. Competitive gaming wise, I got my foot in the door with the Halo franchise.
Nice.
Back in my Halo 4 days, which was when I actually had like a steady Xbox Live connection, because I grew up without internet at home or TV, so it was really hard to like play games. But once I got internet, like it was pretty easy to make the switch. I ended my like Halo 4 run with a plus 5,000 kill death ratio, which is pretty good. I was in the top like 8 or 9 percentile of players. One of my practice buddies, he was in like the top 50. And I've even played with like Pistola and Naded and some other Halo pros and like scrims and stuff. But those days have long since gone. I'm not super great at Halo anymore, but I am still better than the average player. But Hearthstone, so when I first started going to college, I had a friend show me this card game, and they're like, "Hey, you should play it. Like, I think it's fun." And I downloaded it. Didn't realize there was a PvP mode. I only played against the innkeeper every single time, and I was like, well, this is dumb. Like, I'm not playing against a person. Like, I don't understand why people think this game is fun. And so then I uninstalled it off my phone, didn't play it for like another year and a half. And then when I got back into it, it was in between the Grand Tournament and League of Explorers. So my first expansion launch was League of Explorers.
Okay.
Because League of Explorers was the expansion before Whisper of the Old Gods, correct?
I think so, but I can't be positive.
So it was one of those two.
League of Explorers was the one that they announced at BlizzCon that they said, hey, it's going to be here on Tuesday, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, so that's when I started playing Hearthstone. I played in THL for like 4 or 5 seasons. It was after like their alpha and beta season. I was looking for an active Hearthstone community because I couldn't find anything. So back in those days, I didn't believe in Twitter. It just wasn't something I got into. I went on Facebook, looked up Hearthstone groups. The only active group I found was, or the two were like the Hearthstone in pub or something like that, and then the other one was Heartland Hearthstone. So I joined both of those, and I would like be decently vocal in the Heartland one. And I saw a post by Tom Locke saying that they were looking for a player to make a team to play in THL. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, like I'd love to like be a part of this if there's still room. Luckily there was. And so that is how I met and became integrated with Team Swakoi. Was really early on. But yeah, played in THL for a long time. And then in 2017, I flew out to DreamHack Denver and played in the Hearthstone Grand Prix and the side tournament. In the Grand Prix, I placed 80th out of 187. It was my first major tournament for like anything that I had to travel to. So it was pretty nerve wracking. Like I saw Muzzy, saw Monsanto, saw I saw everybody. I saw Cora. I saw just everyone you'd expect to see at a tournament like that. I saw.
Nice. And that was Monsanto before the hat days.
Yes, it was Monsanto before Fedora days. But it was a lot of fun. I went like 20 game wins, 25 game losses, and I had one draw.
That's pretty good. I've never actually done a Hearthstone, anything major in Hearthstone anyway, like that.
It's fun. What about you, Tito? What's your gaming / Hearthstone background?
Well, my first games were Space Invaders and Backgammon on the Atari 2600. I've been playing games for a long time. When I got back, I was in the Army, and I was in the Guards, but I got deployed a couple times. And when I got back from Iraq in 2004, I worked at a company. I was managing a QA lab, and I had a bunch of kids that worked for me, and they were like, "Hey, you need to play World of Warcraft." And this was back in vanilla. This was like, when I joined, it was before Blackwing Lair was out, so I got in there pretty early, and I'm still running a guild in World of Warcraft. I've been doing it for a long time, ever since the beginning. But when I was in high school, I played Magic the Gathering, and I had an alpha deck, which I sold for what I thought was a good amount. Like I sold it for like $300 long time ago, and that felt really good. And boy, I wish I would have kept on to that. But I played a lot. I played through Ice Age, I'd say. Like I played the Dark Ice Age, and then I would occasionally get back into it here and there. I for about a year or two, when I moved up to New Hampshire, I was going to the local comic shop and doing the Friday Night Magic and stuff like that. But when Hearthstone was announced, it sounded perfect because I loved Warcraft and I loved card games, and it was something I could do at home at night or whatever, and I really enjoyed it. So I was pretty much in since the open beta, and I've played ever since. And I struggled to be good enough. Like I thought I was okay, but I never really climbed, and a lot of that was time, a lot of that was effort. But I never got that far up, and this is part of what our episode today is going to be. So, why are we doing this podcast, and what is the goal? What are the goals of this podcast? We both listen to a lot of podcasts, right? And there's like some of our favorites, which were part of the community, so we're kind of biased, but we're big fans of Blizzlet. We're big fans of Squelch. We're big fans of Coin Concede and the Vicious Syndicate. And we don't want to be the same show as them. Like, not saying we don't want to be funny like Blizzlet, and we don't want to be informative like Coin Concede, and we don't want to talk about food like Squelch. All that stuff influences us, and we'll probably be there. But we were thinking, what is a place that hasn't really been touched yet? What would make somebody come to our podcast in addition to all these other great podcasts they have. And our thought was, hey, we are both, I would say, average players, and we want to get better. So what if we had a podcast about getting better? And I'm not just talking about, what was that? Write that down, I guess, 2106. We just got some really matched feedback. Okay. One of our thoughts was, how do we really improve? How do we get better? And we're not talking about how do we get better at a deck. Like, we're not saying, oh, this is how we're going to play the Quest to the Bone Zone Mage. And other podcasts do that. Other things do that. But we really kind of thought maybe we could get into fundamentals. Like, how do you get better? And it may not be sustainable. It's too early to tell. Like, when you get to, if we do get past the 3-episode mark of, what was it called? Wiping Butts. If we do make it past that and continue on, we get to episode 20, 30, whatever. We may start to run out of topic ideas, but by then we hopefully find our voice. But, initially we want to talk about how do you get better? And what does that mean? Does that mean slowing down your turns? Does that mean investigating your replays? Does that mean getting better at understanding the stats on a web page, like HS Replay? So that's kind of the goal here, is we want to try to focus on just basic fundamentals that maybe you think about, maybe you don't, maybe you should be thinking about, but then you forget about because you're tilted or you're just grinding game after game after game. And sometimes it's good to just pause and think and say, what am I doing? Like, I'm not climbing, I'm not doing anything, I'm not hitting my goals. Do I have goals? And that's kind of where we want to start here. So is there anything you want to add to that before we get into this week's main course? Okay, so this is next one, main course. Pretend there's a bumper. There'll be one soon. So our topic this week actually is goals and expectations. This is something that I think a lot of Hearthstone folks struggle with. It's a lot of what I see people talking about at times in the Discords, about what they want out of the game, what are their goals, what happens when they hit those goals, what it's reasonable, what's not, what if they don't make those goals. So I think that addressing that early and having a plan, or having a plan not to have a plan, I think is important, especially in a game like this where you are, every game you're competing against your opponent, but in general, like, you're competing really against yourself. You're taking your metrics, you're taking where you are, your status, however you want to measure it, but you're basing yourself on your performance over these matches. So Doc, as far as playing Hearthstone, what are your usual play patterns? Like, where are you finishing, and what are you trying to do? What are your goals here in Hearthstone?
Yeah, so for me, my ultimate goal is eventually to hit Legend. It's been my soft goal since like 2017. I have yet to hit it. The closest I've ever come was I was rank 1 with 3 stars in the old ladder system. In the new ladder system, I usually finish with like an 8x multiplier. However, I've kind of not played a lot the last couple months due to my job change and working a ridiculous amount of hours. So this month I started with a 7x, which is a big feels bad. But it is what it is. So my goal now is to try to hit Diamond 10, like Plat 1 Diamond 10. And how to manage that. So with anything you have a goal for, I think it is healthier to have like checkpoints or like smaller goals in between, so that it's not like an all or nothing process, so that like you can actually like mark like your progress, like, oh, hey, like it's like, for me, like I haven't played ranked yet because I was playing a lot of BGs and like waiting for the balance changes to come out. So like my soft goal now is by the end of this week to be like gold 5, and then next week hopefully like plat 5 or like plat 1 are already into diamond. But I think it's just healthy to have those soft goals in between so that you can still track your progress, even if you aren't making the amount of progress you would like with hitting that goal as fast as you can. Like I have 20 some days left, so it's not make or break that I hit that like super soon. So hopefully by the end of the week I'll be in gold. I'll probably be playing Aggro Druid and Edelweiss's mage.
And it's interesting you say that about time because okay, so today is the 10th. We probably should have said it at the top. Today is September 10th, 2022. And you said sometimes it feels like you don't have time and all that. So if you have set a goal to say, like you just said, maybe try to make Diamond 10, which will be difficult because from was it Platinum, the shiny before that, from Platinum.
Yeah, I'll lose my bonus at like plat 6.
Okay. So then that next to that from one floor to the next, your goal is to get through one tier of floor at the 0 stars, at the 0 bonus stars. Okay. Now how are you gonna feel if it gets to be the 20th, the 25th, and you're not there yet? Is that going to provide anxiety, or is that just going to be something that you can say, well, that wasn't my goal. That was my goal. I didn't make it. So let's readjust my goals. Let's make sure that this is fun, not a job. Or
exactly. So if I do realize like, hey, like I'm getting really close to the wire. Like I don't want to feel stressed out because like Hearthstone's a game, and as Squelch likes to say, games are meant to be fun, and that is true. But like I still want to get better. So at that point, I take a step back, realize the amount of time I've been able to put in is less than the amount I want to put in. And that's just, it is what it is. So like I'll get as far as I can, and I will accept wherever I land in my star bonus. I really try to not put like, and this is generally like my attitude towards like life and everything, is I try to not put too much energy into the negative side of things, because to me there's no point, because all it's going to do is make you feel worse about something that you already feel bad about, and it's not productive. So will I feel bad if I don't make Diamond 10? Yes. Is that going to be the end of me playing Hearthstone? Absolutely not. I'll just take it a step back and go, okay, well, I couldn't make Diamond 10. I was able to finish like Diamond 6 or Plat 6. So now my goal is like Plat 2 or whatever. Like I'll reassess, make the goal slightly easier so that the following month, the new goal would be easier with that higher star bonus.
right. And every time if you take the approach of every time, like have a main goal, which is, hey, I want to get to Diamond 10. And then if you realize that it would be too stressful because you don't have enough time, or I know you've said that at times you burn out from the game when you hit the walls. Make the soft goal. Well, I want to at least get back to where I was, and maybe you put a little extra effort into getting to where you were, and then taking that or maybe make the first goal. Let me get back to where I am, and that second goal of, okay, now that I'm where I am, I've done a good month. I'm going to be where I was. Now let's make the stretch goal to get to that next tier. Is there anything you think you can do differently to avoid that burnout, but also achieve these goals?
So to avoid the burnout, I mean, I kind of already do it because of how little my job makes me play. But I used to play so much in the first week and a half of the month, because I used to be like Storm Rage, and I would plow through Platinum in like the first couple days, and like be somewhere in Platinum within the first couple days, and then I would just get burnt out and play like an entirely other game or play BGs or something. But yeah, like, sorry, what was the rest of your question, Tito?
That that was it. So like, how do you adjust for that burnout? How do you try to avoid hitting that burnout while also achieving your goals? Like, what are some things you
So
can do?
to achieve the goals, like you can looking at your VODs with HS Replay, um, reviewing them yourself or getting them reviewed by another player, preferably a player that's better than you, so that they can see the plays that you don't see. You could always do a co-op with someone. That's a good way to get real-time data on what plays exist that you're blind to.
Mm-hmm.
And watching high-level players, whether it be spectating, if they have spectate open, Twitch streams, YouTube, whatever. Like there's homework to do, like if you want to get better at this game. And so I just need to do more of my homework, and eventually I'll start seeing the things that everyone, like these better players, see, and I'll slowly get closer and closer to my goal.
And sometimes even co-oping is great, right? Because just talking through your plays, that's a good part of reason why I got into streaming just recently, is that I tend to I play too quickly, and then I realize, hey, maybe there was a different line I could have taken, and slowing yourself down, and especially even if you're working with somebody else, and be like, hey, what do you think? This is what I think the play is, or maybe you get a coaching, like I do coin concede coachings, and that's fantastic. That's well worth I think it's $10 a month, like to be a patron there, and you get a coaching. It's great, and it really helps. And a lot of times though, I feel like I'm talking through my plays, like I'll be on a coaching session, and I'll say, I think we do X, Y, and Z, and we just win, win, and win, and then an hour later I'm playing by myself, and I'm not making the same plays. I'm missing something, because then I start to make more mistakes, and then I start to slide. So yeah, and we will cover in the future going over replays. Maybe we'll try to get somebody on that can speak to replays and good ways to evaluate them. But no. So any other thoughts on your goals and your plans, Doc?
Yeah, sorry, I have one last thing. A problem that I know that I have had historically with Hearthstone, or two of them, is I overvalue value.
Yes.
I have the problem of holding on to a card to get the maximum value, and you know what? It never comes. The maximum value I look for is never there, because I should have played it 3 turns ago. I also play way too fast a lot of the time. So I've been trying to work on it and taking more time than I need to sit down, find a line of play, find a second one, try to find a third one, and then think about which one is better. And then if I figure it out of 3 or out of 2, I do that. But just taking the extra time, you have the entire rope to make your turn. As frustrating as that can be, the rope is there for a reason. Use and abuse it if you need to.
Yeah, and we won't get even into that conversation of is roping BM or not, because I don't think it is. I mean, it can be, but I think if you personally are, you are making the effort to evaluate your plays and talk through things, then that's why that's there. All right, so anything else, Doc, or? All right. Well, let me I guess shift to me and talk about what my goals are. And I've been chatting about this a lot in forums. So I can make legend. Usually, I am a dumpster legend player. So my rank, no matter, I'll get in where I ever get. But because my MMR, the way it works is my MMR is pretty low at legend rank. So if I don't play, or if I don't play well, I will drop a lot faster than, say, somebody like a Wicked Good, who he'll get in high. He's 11x and Thrall those types that they'll get in. They have that strong MMR, so they decay less quickly. I essentially enter at a place which is a placeholder, because I should be entering around like maybe 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. But if I get there early enough, I enter at 3,000, and then water seeks its level. So that can be frustrating, and that can be really tilting. So I have to reevaluate my goals. And I've been talking, like I said, I've been talking about this in a couple of the Discords we're in and trying to really get some good ideas and good balance. And I think it's unhealthy to worry about your rank in Legend, at least when you are a newish Legend player. So my first goal is I want to be able to consistently get to Legend. The good Legend players, they just get there. I get to Diamond 5, no problem. Then I can struggle. Then it takes sometimes I struggle, sometimes I don't. When I was playing Habu Gabu Shaman last month, before the nerfs, that was super easy. I climbed without much of a problem. This month, I've been finding myself hitting the ranked floor and having a hard time finding the deck or the right lines. I mean, even when I'm getting these favorable matchups, I've been struggling. So my goal is to get good enough, however we do it. But my goal is to get good enough where I can that climb to Legend is no longer filled with anxiety. There's no longer or minimal anxiety. It's the first step, and then what comes next. So I had been asking, hey, what's a good way to kind of evaluate? Should I be shooting for a certain number? Should I be shooting for a certain percentage, and whatever? And I've gotten a lot of good advice. And one piece of advice, a good idea would be just shoot for a higher than last month. So if you got in, if you finished at 10,000, say, in Legend, which is still, that's only 10,000 people in that thing. You're still doing really well. Legend is, what, top 3%, 5% of players or something like that? So you're still doing really well. But a good goal would be just be higher than you were last month. Great. But that's still kind of arbitrary because who knows how many more people that didn't get there last month hit there this month, whatever. So a better idea for a goal would be just to not worry about that number and just be like, okay, how are you doing that session? Like, so I sit down to play, and a lot of times I would hit Legend and I would just, I got there, and I start memeing, or I start I'd play a couple games serious and lose or win or whatever, and the pressure would kind of get to me. So I'd just be like, all right, I'm just gonna play Reno Pirate Rogue or something, and have fun and watch my rank tank, but not care because I know I was doing something that I was kind of allowing it to happen by taking the pressure off of it. So instead of worrying about the end goal, just worry about, hey, how am I doing tonight? Like, I was 5 and 6, I was 6 and 5, or whatever like that. I did really good here. I had some mistakes here, and just taking that night, and maybe even just better. Just like, don't even worry about that. Just worry about each matchup. Just it doesn't matter if you focus on each matchup and say, okay, I'm gonna play for a while tonight, and really try to every game. No, don't worry about the aggregate. Don't worry about the overall things, because you're gonna win some games you should have lost. You're gonna lose some games you should have won. You're gonna hit sometimes 70-30 matchups. So you want to plan the decks you want to play, and pick something that fits your play style, fits something you enjoy, but also something that's going to be competitive in the meta. If your goal is to improve and get better, there are other ways you can pretty much climb with whatever if you want a meme or whatever like that. But when you get there, like, be a little serious, and don't keep switching your decks. Find the deck that's working for you, and then just evaluate on those small little periods, and then at the end you can keep track of, oh hey, last month I was here, this month I was here, and get an aggregate there, but don't focus on it. That's kind of really the advice I've gotten from a lot of really good players, and I've seen some of these players who have been, finishing, mid Legend or whatever, and they've steadily improved. So it makes a lot of sense. And I think another thing is, don't play on tilt. Like, there's other things to do. So if, like, you go up, you start playing and you hit 3 ramp druids that Daddy Denathrius, Bran, Kael'thas, not that that's a thing anymore, but they can still do it in Druid, and you win 3 games that you should have won. And even if you can go back later and review those and say, I could have done this better, I can do that better, if you are just on tilt, step away for a bit and don't keep hitting that button, because you're not going to be in the right headspace. So I think those are the goals that I am shooting for, is to be less concerned about my aggregate place, the final result, and just worry about each individual game and try to be the best player within that game. And I think if you do that, my rank will improve. So that's kind of my thoughts. Now remember, we are not the pro gamers. Hopefully, we will have some people on here and there to talk about maybe some of these topics that we've already talked about, or some other topics. But these are the things that we are evaluating as the average Hearthstone player, the dad legends, the middle players. Because if you talk to Bunny Hopper, he's going to tell you something probably much different about how to really take advantage of this and that and the other. But we're not there. There's no point in comparing ourselves to a grandmaster of a game. Like, if you play chess, you don't compare yourself to some of the best. You have a rank for a reason. You want to improve from that rank, and that means understanding kind of where your rank is and how to improve from there. So, Doc, do you have any final thoughts on this topic?
Yeah. So, y'all, Hearthstone's a game. Have fun with it. Like, if you want to be competitive, be competitive. If you want to get better, do your homework and get a little better. Do I have aspirations of going pro? Absolutely not. Do I want to get better? Positively. Just take everything in stride. Like Tito said, realize you're going to run into bad matchups, or you're just going to get the bad draw, and just take that and move on to the next game. Next game, you start with 30 life. Or 40 nowadays.
that is a little tilting at times too. I'm not gonna lie. That the 40, you're playing some aggro and you hit the what is it, the Renethal decks, and you're just like, I would have beat him if it was at 30, and all that. So yeah, agreed. All right, so that's our thoughts on that topic. So this is where we'll go into our last and final section, which we'll call dessert, because that's where you finish your meal. Doc, where can people find you on the socials? All right. You can find me at Twitter and Twitch at Tito Santana HS. Like I said, I don't have a streaming schedule yet. It's looking like it's going to be pretty much Mondays and Thursdays, from 9 to 12 or so Eastern Standard Time, but we're figuring that out. Love for you to stop by and hang out. So, Doc, is there anybody you'd like to thank this week?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Tito, for putting up with me. So peek behind the curtain, we were supposed to record on Wednesday, but I've been having some issues sleeping lately, like going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then working a 10 to 11 hour shift on that every day. So I had to reschedule with Tito to record today. So thank you for putting up with me with that. But also, thank you, Ridiculous Hat, for his vast knowledge and advice on audio, because he's really good with that.
Nice. And I'd like to thank you, Doc, for inviting me to do this. I've always meant to do this. I actually have another podcast that I'm starting to work on my own, but that's nowhere near ready yet. So to have this kind of opportunity to talk to a friend, hang out, and try to do something in a space we love, but that's a little different. Hopefully, maybe, we'll find some people. So I appreciate you asking me to do this, and dealing with me, taking your idea and warping it into something a little different. I'd also like to thank everybody in the awesome communities that we're a part of: the Squelch community, the Coin Concede community, and the Blizzlet communities. They've been great. They don't know. I don't think many know about this podcast yet, but they're just always so supportive. A lot have showed up to my streams to help that out, and I like to say a shout out to Pilot, who has been in my stream more than just about anybody, and chatting and being engaging, and that's really been nice. So I think that's it. I think we've gone down every rabbit hole we can tonight.
At least the ones that are worth exploring.
I would say so. Thank you everybody for taking the time to listen to this. We've gone a little longer than we actually planned. We're going to try to keep this around 30 to 45 minutes, and not go the play for tempo route where it ends up being 2 hours. But I think we'll find our voice. So just bear with us as we start our adventure into this. And if you have any feedback, both positive and negative, we'd love to hear it. All right. Thank you, everybody. I don't know how we sign. We don't have to sign off yet, do we?
No, we don't.
If you have any ideas for a sign off, please let us know.